chatting with you, and as we were discussing, in these past 6 months, we've met every month possible because you've been doing so much also.
I know, it's nice to see you through the different stages of lockdown.
True, and you as well, because you've had Suitable Boy, Lootcase, Banana Bread. Now there is Mirzapur coming, so the lockdown has been really productive for you.
Yeah, there has been a lot of stuff actually, and it's been exciting to do the same things in a new way. So, doing promotions from home, doing interviews from home, making a short film from home. So, all of that has been new and different. And I think I felt differently about it every month. Like, I think the first month I thought that this lockdown is going to be a big break from everything, and I'm really going to get the time to rest and all of that. It didn't really turn out like that. I
Yeah.
mean, the housework in the first few months, and then trying to figure out how to do everything from home in the next few months, it's all been hectic in its own way. So yeah, the kind of rest that I was expecting, वो नहीं हो पाया. But हाँ, नई चीजें हुई.
No, I agree with that. And also, I mean, नई चीजें हैं far more exhausting. But do you think you could be okay with this kind of life? Because everyone seems to have embraced the normal very well.
Well, for now, I think I've embraced it also. But it does scare me when I go through times when I think that this is how it's always going to, is this how it's always going to be? And that thought is a little scary, because I think all of us believe that there is going to be a solution soon. And I hope that we are not being delusional. And I hope that we are being realistic about that. Because if this was how life was going to be forever, then yeah, that it's something which is worrying to me. But for now, yeah, I'm ready to go with the flow and try to do the best that I can given the circumstances.
So, other than that, I wanted to ask you, since we have seen you as Savita, you'll be again seen as Bina, and we've seen Lata of Lootcase. If these three characters were to meet, what would the conversation be like amongst them?
That is a very funny question. I think Lata and Bina would fight. Lata would have like a confrontation. Bina would be scheming. And Savita would be trying to sort this argument out.
Wow. So, I mean, I'm talking about Savita and such rave reviews coming for A Suitable Boy. Could you relate with Savita's character, or was she very different from the way you are as a person?
Actually, Savita was easy to be for me. I think her body language, her demeanor, her gentleness is something that I find easy to be physically. It is the kind of body language that I normally have. I am a little slow paced, and I've often been accused of being that. But I also, so Savita is like that, and I think I find myself very comfortable in the 1940s and 50s. Even when I was playing Safia in Manto, I really felt like this was the era that I should have been born in. I find today's pace of life very difficult. I find the pace of life of the 40s and the 50s something which comes more naturally to me. So I'm very happy to be in that period. And I also love the clothes and the way the people used to dress at that time. So, wearing a nice sari in a casual way, something that I love doing. So I always feel that मैं तो गलत time पे born हो गई. So I think in that sense, Savita was easy for me. The kind of gentleness and the kind of softness that she has was something that I find easy to be. But I think Mira wanted me to, and I also wanted to play her as a person who was gentle and soft, but has a mind of her own, and has agency, and has a say in the choices that she's making. So we didn't want her to come across as somebody who didn't have agency. So she might have made very traditional choices, but those were made because she wanted to make them. And I'm always interested in playing characters like that, because I think sometimes uh, our idea of feminism becomes very much about uh, women who make choices which are not traditional,
Huh.
and I don't subscribe to that. I always feel that my idea of feminism is that the woman should have the choice no matter what she decides to do. So
True.
I think Safia and Savita are women I've really enjoyed playing, because I feel like while on the outside they might seem like people who followed tradition, I think that uh, they had the intelligence and the agency to make a choice.
So Bina must have been totally someone that you could not relate to at all, na? वो तो एक दूसरा ही.
Bina was, and that was what was interesting about her. And I think what was really interesting about her is, I've played characters which are wired differently internally, because everybody has a different internal wiring. So, so even though Safia and Savita on the surface might belong to the same era and have a certain physicality to them, they're
Hmm.
very different people internally.
Huh.
But Bina is a character who is physically very, very different for me. She has a very different physicality, and I totally enjoyed playing that. And that's not a physicality that I have in life. And I've always looked at other women who have that kind of a physicality, and I've always admired that, and I've always been attracted to that. And so it was very exciting for me to watch myself be that.
True.
I wasn't sure while I was shooting whether I was achieving that or not. I had a couple of images in mind from people I had met, who I had always watched very closely, because I've always been very fascinated by women who enter a room and somehow there's something magnetic about them. It's not about what they're wearing or the way they look. It's just there's a draw which is so strong, and there's something very sexual and beautiful and sensuous and beautiful about that draw. So
True.
I've always been curious about how that happens, and I'm so not like that in life. Like I'd walk into the room and be a Mr. Cellophane, and not probably be talked through till something happens. And so in that sense, Bina was attractive to me, and I was very nervous that I would not be able to play that. But from what I saw on screen, I think I did achieve that in
You
some
did a
way.
very good job.
So
And now we hear it's going to be her perspective in the coming season. Why she is the way she is.
I don't know if it's her perspective. There's so many characters in Mirzapur, right? And every one of them has a very strong track, and all of them very engaging, which is the beauty of the series. But yeah, she has an interesting track in season 2, which is different from the one in season 1. So you see her mature in different ways, possibly even mature in her scheming quality.
Wow.
So so yeah, and so season 2 was another ball game altogether, because it's very strange to revisit a character after you've had so much feedback on it, after you have watched yourself on screen, besides just being the character. Because usually, like, that's why good directors or good actors, and in an ideal film shooting setup, you never look at the monitor, because while being someone, you don't want to watch that someone from the outside.
True.
I believe that it really interferes with your creative process. I try as much as possible to not to watch the monitor while I'm shooting. Sometimes I give in to my curiosity, but mostly I don't. And most good film directors forbid you from doing that. But like season 2 is like you watch that monitor 1,500 times and then come to shoot this again and to be this character again. After everybody's watched it, after you've watched yourself a couple of times, after people have given you feedback on the minutest of things, and with all that consciousness and all that knowledge, you go back to season 2. So it's a very different experience. But it was also fun, because I always compare it to, it's almost like meeting a friend again, a very close friend again. So basically how they're wired, how they are, and those basic things will never change. But from the time that you met them last, they've had different experiences,
Yeah.
So you have to sort of reacquaint yourself with them again. So that was the experience of season 2. But I always say I live vicariously through Bina. I do all those things that I would not do in my life.
Wow. I mean, what if Rasika transformed into Bina? So फिर क्या होगा?
Huh?
If you transformed into Bina in your real life, तो क्या होगा?
I think it would be fairly hard for people around me, and but it would be an exciting way to live also.
True,
Maybe
I
I have taken something from Veena which I am unaware of.
could be. I mean, we do actually. And as you spoke about Savita also, there's that picture of yours that came in the promotions for Suitable Boy of you just lying on bed. I actually felt you were a perfect fit for that era. I mean, as you said, you could have been just anybody from the 50s and 60s. But talking about Mira Nair, did you go with the perception? Did it change while she directed you? What was it like with her on set?
With most good directors, I've noticed that they don't they don't really give you instructions. They create an environment for you which makes things happen, and which helps you experience things with the role. I felt that with Anoop, I felt that with Nandita, and I felt that again with Meera. They create an environment for you in which you can really experience what your character is
Mm,
experiencing, rather than instructing you towards a particular physicality or towards a particular emotion. So I think Meera was that and more. She's just so much fun to be with. One of the big reasons for signing on to this project was Mira Nair, of course. It was my desire to work with her for a really, really long time. And I'm so glad it happened. Mira is a very spunky and spirited person, and also very mischievous.
yeah.
So it was just so much fun spending time with her, not only on shot, on set, but also off set. And I think I had a variety of conversations with her, which ranged from motherhood to scuba diving. So it's always a treat to chat with her. In fact, when we were dubbing online for A Suitable Boy during lockdown,
Mm.
and I would spend the first few sessions on Zoom just chattering away, and everybody else on that Zoom call had to tell us to get back to work. So there's just so much to learn from her. She's had such varied experiences, um, and her way of being is not jaded at all. It's wise, but it's spirited and it's funky, and it's just so nice. To I could spend hours with her and never be bored for a single minute.
I'm sure I know exactly what you mean, but Suitable Boy May, who do you think Lata should have actually landed up with?
Well, all of us, I think, while reading the book and even while reading the script, you're always rooting for Kabir. Don't you
Yeah,
agree with me?
true, Kabir
I mean,
Durrani. He's
Kabir Durrani, the
everyone's
character.
favorite character.
Yeah, he's the romantic hero, right? He's the one you want Lata to be with. But I really liked the book for the idea that she ends up with Harish.
Yeah,
The things it says about a marriage, and I think while Kabir is sort of set up to be the hero, I think it's nice that the audience has to readjust to find the hero in Harish,
true, true,
in
true.
somebody like Harish. So I think that's a fun experience as a reader and as a viewer also. I think because the obvious choice would be, while you're rooting for this romantic love story to meet its natural end, where she finally is with Kabir. I think the fun thing about the story is that she ends up with Harish.
True. I agree with that too. And talking about you, you're a math graduate. Math graduate acting कैसे कर रहा है? कैसे हुआ ये?
मैथ करके इतना बोर हो गए कि हमने I think that's one of the decisions that I feel was I wish that I had not made. I think I had done science in school, and I didn't know what to do. I knew I wanted to be in LSR because it was one of those colleges that everybody wanted to be in. And I'd heard so much about, my sister was studying there also. So I'd
Uh,
heard so much about the fun things that happen there. And there's a dramatic society, and there's an elocution society, and everybody's always doing these really cool things. And there's a festival, Delhi University, and all those stories I had heard of a lot because I grew up in Jamshedpur and I went to school in
Yeah.
Jamshedpur. And almost everybody from Jamshedpur goes to either Delhi University or comes to Bombay to study. So I really didn't know what I wanted to study. I just felt like I wanted to be in LSR.
वो
So
भी math.
I
I mean,
I
maths.
applied to math because it was one of the subjects that I had studied, which I enjoyed. However, school level mathematics and college level mathematics is a totally different
But
thing.
math karna is a totally different ball game, yeah.
So, and while I was at college, I felt like the liberal arts courses at Delhi University was so much richer than the others that I felt like if I had done history or political science or English, I would have had a better time.
You would
But
have. I'm history. Math
your
हमारे बस की
history.
नहीं है.
Oh, I had so many friends who were in history. I used to sit and study their course, and we used to have this game where we used to say which year was jizya reimposed, and
Wow,
and
wow.
all those
मैथ के
kind
ऊपर
of.
हम ऐसे नहीं कर सकते यार. ओलंपियाड देखकर ही डर लगता था वो. Hats off, hats off.
But I think the beautiful thing about acting is that no experience is wasted. Every experience in your life can be utilized in your work. You just have to be smart about how you utilize it and where you utilize it. I think that's where the skill of acting comes. That's where your experience comes.
True.
But the beauty about the work is that no experience is not useful.
True. I agree with that. And it's an interesting post that you put up on Instagram, which I also commented when people said that how you were auditioning, that auditioning was good, but you don't fit the part. Now, what would you want to tell people? Because, and what for you actually was the game changer? Because you have been through your slew of auditions and trying out stuff. And the last 2 years have been the year of Rasika Dugal. So, what for you worked, and what would you like to tell those people?
And in particular, in this experience, the one that I posted about, I had a year in which I had been almost signed on to 5 films, and all of those films were ones that I really wanted to do. And for one reason or the other, they didn't work out. A few were because the director said, "Hey, your audition's great, but you don't fit the part, don't fit the image I have in mind." And the three others were because the director really wanted me to be a part of the story, but the producer said no, she's not well known enough. So we
Mm-hmm.
need somebody who can bring in more numbers, who can because of whom a ticket will be sold. So those were the things that I was grappling with at that time. I honestly, there is a disappointment when it happens, but I understand where a director is coming from when they say you don't fit the image that I have in mind. As actors, we find that very hard to accept, and in one sense, you shouldn't accept it. As actors, you should always fight it.
Yeah.
But I understand that when a director says that they have a particular image in mind, they find it hard to readjust to somebody else.
Mm.
Now, your job, therefore, as an actor, becomes to to be able to show yourself in different images to people, and
True.
hopefully, you would have the opportunity to do that, and hope that that when somebody thinks like this, it could also work in your favor. For example, somebody could think that, listen, I only want Rasika in this role. I
Yeah.
can't. And if somebody else comes up who's as talented as me, they would not consider it because they'd be like, no, we have Rasika in mind. So it
Yeah.
could work in your favor
True.
also,
I
and it
agree.
could work against you also. But I understand when people are writing or visualizing that they have something in mind and they want uh, somebody for that. So it is disappointing. And as actors, you should never accept it. You should always fight it. But you should also know that it is a director's vision. And if they're saying this, it is because they are satisfying their creative need rather than being mean to you in any way, or disregarding you in any way. And also, I think I felt very encouraged by the idea that my audition was appreciated. And in this particular case, the one that I put up a post about, it was deeply appreciated. I got many calls from the director, in fact, even saying that, listen, the way you've done this audition, you have told me how I should direct the scene.
Wow.
So it was very encouraging to me that had happened. The other three, which didn't work out because of me not being a big name, was something that made me feel very helpless, because I felt I don't know what I can do to change this. Because this is really a matter of chance. I can continue to do the good work, I can continue to do the auditions, but how a project turns out and how an audience perceives me, how a producer perceives me, how sellable they think I am or not, is really something which is a matter of chance and not in my hands. So that was something that made me feel more helpless than this, actually, because
And
this I felt was coming out of a creative need of a director, which I respect. The producer angle, of course, comes from a business angle, which I always don't find the heart to respect, but and always makes me feel a little helpless. And that continues to happen in different ways, right? I
true.
mean, somebody can still say that she's not mainstream enough. I mean, who knows?
And now this question of mainstream, not well known, everything seems to be balancing out, because with the OTT platforms also, a lot of the platforms are actually looking out for people who are not well enough so they can give something fresh. Do you think it's now balancing things out? Because it's the law of the universe. When something gets too heavy, and it needs to be balanced out.
It has, and I think really the OTT space has been a space where people have experimented with everything. They've experimented with content, they've experimented with genres, they've experimented with casting, and what is very uplifting and encouraging is that it continues to happen. In the last 3 years, I haven't felt like people are now sticking to formula again. There is the good and the bad in the OTT also, but I felt that there is still, even the bad stuff comes with I mean, it's an experiment gone wrong, but at
Yeah,
least it's an experiment.
yeah, yeah.
There is no formula that people are sticking to. There is a Made in Heaven, there is a Mirzapur, totally different,
True.
uh, uh, both successful. And with every new show, I constantly see new actors. It's not like the same actors are continuing to get all the projects. ऐसा नहीं है. एक तो टाइम की भी पाबंदी हो जाती है, because
True. True. True.
long form content requires a lot more shooting dates, so you can't uh, repeat the same actors if you want to get a project done in a certain timeline. But I think all these things which are inherent to the format is only making it more democratic, making it competitive in a healthy way.
True. So
Yeah.
awesome. And what else is cooking other than baking, other than banana bread?
Delhi Crime I finished. I still have post production work
Wow.
left on it. So that's also, I'm excited to see how season 2 of that turns out,
That's
actually,
true.
because again you see this character in a very different space, and because she's had very different experiences from the first time. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.